那个有来后退，他们出来了，后退，架在旁边就好，来，那个你等下哈，都有办法走哈，我们就站在外面。
里面没有人了哈，
没有了，
大一小都出来了吗？
哎，出来了，1岁多小孩，
两大一小吗？
哎，两大一小，但你那个超的，哎，对，他2个大人，他们报案的。
Remarkable breakthrough to reshape the landscape of clean energy, Chinese scientists have achieved what was once thought to be impossible. What is that? Well, China's experimental fusion reactor has now managed to maintain its scorching plasma for an unprecedented 17 minutes. Now, this has never happened before. As I mentioned, the temperatures are hotter than the sun's core. Well, our next report explains how this is yet another milestone in humanity's quest for unlimited power.
The sun is a fiery powerhouse. Its immense energy fuels life on Earth. It provides warmth, light, and the energy needed for survival. For billions of years, it has burnt relentlessly, powered by nuclear fusion at its core. This process fuses hydrogen atoms into helium, releasing vast amounts of energy. Now, humanity is trying to replicate this cosmic force here on Earth. As the demands for energy soars, the rush for sustainable and clean energy is intensifying. Fossil fuels pollute the environment and are finite. Renewable sources like wind and solar are promising but limited by nature's whims. The solution lies in nuclear fusion, the holy grail of energy production. China is leading the charge with its experimental advanced superconducting tokamak, often called the artificial sun. In a groundbreaking test, Chinese scientists claim to have sustained plasma temperatures exceeding 100 million degrees Celsius. That's 6 times hotter than the sun's core. Chinese researchers say that they maintained this high temperature for an unprecedented 1,066 seconds. This feat not only broke records but marked a major step towards creating a limitless zero-carbon energy source. Fusion reactors work by mimicking the sun. Hydrogen isotopes are heated to extreme temperatures, forming a superhot plasma, a state of matter where atoms split into charged particles. This plasma is confined in a magnetic field inside a donut-shaped chamber. When the particles collide and fuse, they release energy. Unlike nuclear fission, fusion doesn't produce long-lived radioactive waste, making it a safer, cleaner alternative. While China is setting records, it's not alone. The US, Japan, the UK, and 33 other nations are collaborating on the ITER project in France, which aims to build the world's largest magnetic fusion device. These efforts signal a global race toward harnessing fusion power, a technology that could redefine humanity's energy future. If successful, fusion promises a world of limitless energy, and with it, a cleaner, greener planet.
Well, I'm looking forward to good collaborations globally, because I think the vision of my Prime Minister is very clear when it comes to food processing industry, that eventually my government wants India to become the global food basket, and we have that abundance. We are capable of providing that support globally. So this time when I represent my country and my ministry here in Davos, we are having a lot of such interactions, and I'm very hopeful, I'm very positive that by the end of this trip, we'll have some good investments coming in this sector.
Let's cross over to Switzerland at the Davos World Economic Forum, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky just addressed the participants at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Let's just listen in for a moment what's going on there.
Дякую вам за це запитання. Передусім я хочу сказати, що ми досі знаходимося в Курському регіоні. І наші військові там. Сил Росіян з Ірану.
I did not. He signed something with Iran, and we did not, for the moment, find anything prescribed in there that can drag Iran into war. But at the same time, I sincerely believe that Iran has been dragged into this war since they've started to hit our infrastructure, our hospitals, schools, with their long-range drones. And they have also issued licenses to produce those drones in the territory of Russia. So I'm very grateful to our military that they are on the Kursk axis and that they have dragged some of Russian forces from the east to that axis. And also Russia wanted to occupy the city of Kharkiv. and that region is at the moment under our control. The people are living there. It was very dangerous, the occupation of Kharkiv, because now approximately 1.5 million people live there. That is a lot of people, and they are shelling it, and the people there, when you look at them, it's just admiration, because they work there under shellings. You know, they are working, they do not leave their city, they are very patriotic, very strong. We are very grateful to them. So the Kharkiv operation failed, Putin's operation. We managed to stop them. Then he wanted to occupy territories in the north again. He started the invasion from the north, invasion to Kiev, almost 3 years ago, as you have mentioned. And here he wanted to start with the north again and to capture a big city of Sumy. And then we were forced to deliver a preventive blow on the Kursk axis, and we have created a buffer zone between the Russian forces and our city of Sumy. And that is why now Sumy is under our control. In the north, there are no Russian and North Korean troops. They are all pulled to that magnet to our military on the Kursk axis. In the east, we have a difficult situation.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is not mincing his words. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, the Ukrainian president challenged Donald Trump's commitment to NATO and European security. This is what he said.
And will President Trump even notice Europe? Does he see NATO as necessary, and will he respect EU institutions?
The public statement raises pressing questions about America's stance on the ongoing war in Ukraine, especially as Trump hints at scaling back military aid. Trump, known for demanding increased defense spending from NATO allies, has often boasted he could end the Ukraine war, though he has yet to provide a clean plan and a clear plan. Zelensky's pointed remarks put the spotlight on whether the new president will back Ukraine or retreat from its role in European security. Zelensky's concerns go deeper. He warned of a stark imbalance in military capabilities, highlighting that Russia can field 1.5 million troops compared to Ukraine's 800,000 and France's 200,000. This disparity, he says, leaves Europe vulnerable unless nations unite to address it.
And we need a united European security and defense policy, and all European countries must be willing to spend as much on security as it truly needed, not just as much as they have gotten used to during years of neglect. If it takes 5% of GDP to cover defense, then so be it.
Zelensky also issued a chilling warning. Russian aggression, bolstered by North Korean troops, is now geographically closer to Davos than Pyongyang. While Zelensky is in Davos, the devastation in Ukraine continues. These are images from Ukraine's Pokrovsk. Russian strikes set fire to a multi-story building and homes. Ukraine's Air Force says Russia launched 131 Shahed strike drones and numerous decoy drones in its latest assault. The strikes and the stakes are higher than ever. As Zelensky questions Trump's commitments, Europe faces mounting pressure to prepare for a prolonged confrontation with an emboldened Russia. Our correspondent Susan Tehrani is now joining us live on this broadcast from New York. Susan, good to see you. Various events have happened. Donald Trump did say a lot yesterday. He did say that Putin is destroying Russia. Then today, we have Zelensky saying that he's not really sure that Donald Trump is committed to NATO.
Yeah, that was really interesting. And I had to go back to the beginning of January when I found a remark by Donald Trump saying that it was Joe Biden's fault that Russia invaded Ukraine because of America's false promises to Ukraine that Ukraine would eventually join NATO. And that instigated and concerned Russian President Vladimir Putin, hence the invasion. So these remarks by Zelensky are said to be in response to those and then the continuation of which Zelensky is now concerned that perhaps with Donald Trump in the White House, although he's mentioned that he is looking for a deal, and Donald Trump yesterday said that Zelensky really does want to make a deal, the deal is going to fall short for Ukrainian interests. Zelensky then said in a meeting with a European counterpart that I disagree with Donald Trump. It was actually NATO's fault and America's fault for not allowing Ukraine into NATO that instigated Russian President Vladimir Putin to invade and attack Ukraine. So that's where the war of words really stemmed from.
Colombia has declared a state of emergency after rebel guerrillas launched a brutal, violent attack that killed over 100 and displaced almost 20,000 people. The Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, has declared war against the rebel militants, the National Liberation Army, the ELN. The emergency declaration will grant authorities the power to restrict the movement of people, while some 5,000 Colombian soldiers try to quell the violence, one of the worst the country has seen in years. The Colombian army on Monday started evacuating people from the country's northeast regions after the ELN reportedly targeted civilians accused of collaborating with a rival group. ELN has denied these allegations. Hundreds of terrified citizens took refuge in the town of Tibu, while several others fled into neighboring Venezuela. Reports suggest that Tibu has been heavily cordoned off with barracks, and troops have been deployed to patrol the region. Over the last 5 days, bloodshed has been reported from the remote areas of the Amazon to the northeastern border regions around Venezuela. According to analysts, the violence was caused by a turf war by rival militias after the faltering peace process threatened their unity and profits coming from the lucrative cocaine. Minutes after being sworn in, 47th US President Donald Trump sprung into action announcing a slew of policy changes. It's now official, he's the next president, and now it has started. His first act as president was to sign an avalanche of executive orders and proclamations. Trump began signing executive orders on stage at Capitol Arena as thousands of supporters cheered. He then headed to the White House and signed multiple orders at the Oval Office while interacting with the media. At the Capitol One Arena, Trump signed an order to withdraw the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement for a second time. He also signed a formal letter to the United Nations notifying the global body of the country's intent to leave the landmark 2015 accord. Trump also signed an executive order on Monday requiring federal workers return to the office full-time. Trump also signed pardons for participants in the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol. More than 1,500 people were charged in connection with the assault on Congress by Trump's supporters who were seeking to disrupt certification of Democrat Joe Biden's election victory. Claiming a mandate to reshape American institutions, Trump set to work unraveling Joe Biden's legacy. He revokes 80 executive orders of the Biden era, calling them destructive and radical. And earlier in the day, U.S. border authorities shut down Biden-era customs and border protection program. It allowed migrants to schedule entry appointments with an app and cancelled existing appointments. Meanwhile, U.S. senators voted to expand the Laken-Riley Act, approving pre-trial incarceration for foreign criminal suspects. Before taking office, Trump said that he will be signing as many as 200 executive actions on day one as the 47th U.S. president. The signed orders include a wave of policy changes that Trump shouldered his entire presidential campaign on. Remember, during his campaigns, Trump had said that he will carry out the largest deportation in American history. To give you a figure there, a figure that we've heard all through the election campaign of Donald Trump, 11 million undocumented workers are on the chopping block now. United States President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to withdraw the country from the Paris Climate Agreement, marking a second exit for the U.S. in less than a decade. Now, following this, he signed a formal letter to the United Nations notifying the global body of the country's intent to leave the 2015 accord. The accord is aimed at limiting long-term global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, or failing that, keeping temperatures at least well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The accord is voluntary and allows nations to provide targets to cut their own emissions of greenhouse gases from the burning of coal, oil and natural gas. Now, with this move, the US joins a small group of nations such as Iran, Libya and Yemen that are not part of the accord. Under the agreement's rules, exiting would take a year after submitting formal notice to the UN. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, through a spokesperson, expressed confidence that US cities, states and businesses would continue to push for low-carbon economic growth despite the federal government's withdrawal. Besides initiating US withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord, Trump, after being sworn in, declared a national energy emergency to expand drilling in US, which is the world's top oil and gas producers. Also, he said he would scrap vehicle emission standards that amount to an electric vehicle mandate. Moreover, he vowed to curb wind farms.
Our sense of uncertainty looms large before several countries on what to expect after Donald Trump began his second term as president of the U.S. South Africa is not different. Experts have raised concerns regarding South Africa in the backdrop of Donald Trump's presidency. Newly elected U.S. President Donald Trump may have found a best buddy with South African-born billionaire Elon Musk, but his relationship with Africa may not be the same. His past comments about Africa has clearly sent out a negative tone and questions about his foreign policy. Should South Africa be worried about Trump's administration? This is what they think.
I think that South Africa is going to be a little bit worried in terms of the impact of a Trump administration. Firstly, South Africa hasn't been on great terms with America because of its support of Palestine. And this may well continue in the Trump administration.
One of the major concerns for South Africa is whether or not the Trump administration will keep the list of African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, unchanged. The act provides more than 40 eligible sub-Saharan African countries, including South Africa, duty-free access to the U.S. market for almost all products.
South Africa is one of the biggest benefactors of AGOA on the African continent particularly. And if Trump is talking about increasing tariffs, it means that AGOA structures, tariff structures may change. They may have to pay more to be able to access the American market.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa congratulated Trump on his X handle and said he's looking to continue the close and mutually beneficial partnership between two nations in all areas.
President Donald Trump has had a busy first 24 hours back in the White House. He had some of the traditional inaugural events, such as inaugural balls and a luncheon with members of Congress, but he was also quick to start showing the powers of the White House. On his first evening back in the Oval Office, he made a point of signing a series of executive orders and memorandums. He declared an emergency on the U.S.-Mexico border. He withdrew the United States from the World Health Organization and the Paris Climate Accords, and he signed pardons for hundreds of people who were involved in the January 6, 2021 attack at the U.S. Capitol. Tuesday, his first full day back in the White House, he attended a national prayer service at the National Cathedral. And Tuesday afternoon, he's expected to announce a major investment in AI infrastructure in the United States with business leaders.
Donald Trump is back to the White House, and on day one of his presidency, he attacked his predecessor Joe Biden for the pardons he issued before leaving office. The pardons cover former chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, Mark Milley, and members of the House committee that investigated the January 6th riots.
You know, what's going on? Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to help a guy like Milley? Why are we doing Milley? He was pardoned. What he said, terrible what he said.
The president had complained in particular about the general's calls to his Chinese counterpart after the Capitol riots. In a post on Truth Social back then, Trump had called General Milley's act egregious, adding that in times gone by, his punishment would have been death. Thereafter, he had called General Mark Milley a woke train wreck, and multiple times during his election campaign had vowed to act against woke generals. Many believed he was hinting at General Milley, signing the pardons of Milley and others. In one of his final acts as president, Biden said the nation owed the public servants a debt of gratitude for their tireless commitment. Milley, in a statement, said he was deeply grateful. However, a portrait of Milley has reportedly been taken down at the Pentagon. Retired chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff are traditionally honored with portraits that hung in a corridor near the Pentagon's river entrance, and Milley's had only recently been unveiled at a ceremony early this month. But sources quoted in the report said Milley's portrait was removed following Trump's swearing in. At the same time, bringing his promises into action, Trump signed an executive order that repealed a provision allowing transgender troops to serve in the military, part of a wide-ranging effort to end Biden-era policies. The president, in a separate set of orders, declared the government would recognize only two sexes, or two genders, that is, the male and female.
So the first foreign trip typically has been with UK. But I did it with Saudi Arabia last time because they agreed to buy $450 billion worth of our product. I said, I'll do it, but you have to buy American product, and they agreed to do that. They bought $450 billion. It was the least reported story I've ever been involved in.
And now, where are you planning to go now?
Well, I don't know. If Saudi Arabia wanted to buy another 450 or 500, we'll up it for all the inflation.
Mr. President, you say you were going
think
to end the wars first day.
Will you push Israel and Saudi Arabia to normalize relations?
I don't think I have to push them. I think it's going to happen, but maybe not quite yet. But they'll end up being in the Accords, the Abraham Accords.
President Trump,
I think Saudi Arabia will end up being in the Abraham Accords.
This year?
Could be, but soon, not in a very long way.
Let me make one final plea. Mr. President, millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
Мы только что ехали этой дорогой, только что. Я боюсь ехать. На перескорости проедете. У меня бенза мало. Господи, сохрани нас, пожалуйста. Дорога начнет. боюсь туда ехать. У нас дым здесь. Доча, молись. Дося, не плачь, молись просто.
Разворачивайся быстрее, там огонь. Разворачивайся.
Куда? Ужас.
Мама, они нас.
Please God, please God, oh my God, oh my God, please leave the horses there, please God, please. Okay, this tunnel. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, please, God, please. Oh my God. Oh my God, please let me out. Please, God. Please, God, please let me out of here. Please, God. Please. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Sanahan siya na pa din na.
Bị破咗個兩喎。
life than others.